Hello and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. This time it is going to be ridiculous and rampant speculation on some of the, well, I suppose just the plot points and things that lead us into the next expansion, and a bit of a proposed framework for the starting of the expansion, and what will apparently get us into this weird time travel thing that has been leaked. So, essentially this ties some of the things that we saw in 5.4 along with the speculation and the leaks. This includes, say, the Chinese leak and the leak in the MMO Champion forums, which came out yesterday, but I think the day before yesterday, but then was later confirmed by the trademark, and of course had BB's, the main guy over there, his stamp of approval. Now, let's actually get into the speculation. So at the end of Cataclysm, the dragon aspects lost their power, and this includes the bronze dragonflight who were responsible for protecting and maintaining the flow of time. They needed the help of the mortals to do this, now that their power was diminished, and so the Time Walkers were founded. Now the Time Missile is a very strange place. It's a place that's out of time and appears and disappears at different points in time. And while we were on the Isle, we players helped a Time Walker called Kairos. We killed creatures in the island to empower an artifact called the Hourglass of Time, and this is an item of great power, and it's probably in powering that up that we help the Bronze Flight regain their power, thus making the next expansion possible. At the end of the day, it does make perfect sense. They introduced the Time Missile, which means that the Bronze Flight is now able to do this time travel thing, meaning that the time travel expansion is possible. That does seem quite logical to me. Now, we get visions from this hourglass while we're in the Siege of Orgrimmar, and more important are the latter ones that we see. Now, the first one shows Anduin walking up to a jail cell, and the second one shows Sorodormi, who is Nozdumu's prime consort, being killed. And when we see her being killed, Kairos is standing beside her, meaning that it's possible that he ended up doing it, or was at least a bystander, or, well, probably related to the act in some way. Now that is what we know in terms of near solid fact. What matters, what we're going to do now is nosedive into the speculation. So first off, let's talk about the Infinite Dragonflight. They've been trying to stop various key events on Azeroth, like opening the Dark Portal, Thrall's escape from the humans, the culling of Stratholme by Arthas. Why? Well, we know that the constant strife on the planet has made the inhabitants very strong. If Thrall had not been freed, then the events of Warcraft 3 would not have happened the way they did, and the Legion probably would have destroyed Azeroth, because Thrall wouldn't have been able to muster the horde behind him to fight the Legion. And as the bartender says at the very end of the legendary quest to Rathian, we are strong because of each other and the constant issues that both sides face. And Rathian disagrees with this. He thinks the world is better off without the constant fighting so that we can prepare for the coming attacks by the Legion. So it's actually possible that he may even agree with some of the Infinite Flight's logic, and I would nearly argue later on in this that Rathian may be inadvertently the starting point for the Infinite Flight. So I think it's possible that Kairos may end up actually being, via Anduin, the actual start of the flight. And basically Rathian may convince Kairos of how things should be, in that some of the events in the past should be stopped so that Azeroth is safe. Now, after all that Rathian wants to do is protect the world of Azeroth. He is an uncorrupted black dragon, which means all he cares about is the planet not being destroyed. And what better way to do that than going back in time and killing Grom before he can essentially create the Orcish Horde by having them to drink the demon blood and causing them to be blood raged. Now, so with Kairos sold in this plan, he would end up killing Sorodormi. Perhaps she finds out about the plot, or perhaps something darker, like say the Whispers of the Old Gods, happens. Now, we do know that Nozdumu's turns into Morizont, who is the leader of the Infinite Flight at some point, and the death of his partner certainly does seem like a bit of a tipping point into madness. Perhaps the Old Gods manipulate Kairos into thinking that killing Sorodormi is a good idea, or something to that effect. Normally, Nozdumu's would be totally against the idea of anything of the sort when it comes to going back and altering time and changing events, but perhaps the death of his consort is enough to make him snap. At any rate, this would only really, in my opinion, be the seed of the Infinite Flight, i.e. they would still, for the most part, be the Bronze Dragonflight that we know today, but the very, very initial sort of seeds of their descent into madness would have been sown. Or, of course, this could all be a bunch of crap, but what is important is that it's fun to come up with stuff like this, and it does follow a slightly logical process. essentially, to sum things up, Anduin is convinced to free Garrosh. They tell him that drinking the demon blood, and they tell Garrosh that stopping his father from causing the orcs to drink the demon blood, if he stopped that, then the orcs would regain their honor, and it would avert all these wars, and the orcs could have, a respectable, honorable existence. And perhaps after all that's happened with Pandaria, Garrosh maybe sees the error of his ways. After all, your man Metzen did say that he is, quote, a sucker for a good redemption story, and to facilitate sending Garrosh back, then they do stuff with the Bronzeflight, as I mentioned above. And the whole Infinite thing basically is that Rathian sows this idea that the constant strife and all that stuff is a bad thing, and that idea is passed through Kairos into the seeds of the Infinite Flight, so that when they all sort of descend into madness, that little idea of stopping all these problems and strife is put in, which I suppose is maybe a cornerstone of the flight's motives, and that it would actually be all because of damn Rathian, and he wouldn't really have known it because, well, Rathian is intelligent, and he's very powerful. There is certainly nuance and things that he doesn't understand, and he is very young, and as the bartender said, he failed to learn the lessons of Pandaria, and that, in the end, is probably what will make whatever he wants to do to protect the world from the Legion fail, and whatever, say, Anduin wants to do, maybe succeed. Now, Anduin, I think that they need to break that character first, perhaps the death of Prophet Velen or something like that. Right now, he's just too goddamn neutral to do anything or be an interesting or realistic character. Now, the thing is, how do we get us players involved? Honestly, I'm not sure, and I think that the whole effort to kill Grom has to fail, because it would cause such an absurd plot hole. Like, it would mean that it would nearly make no sense for the orcs to even exist in-game. So, really, could this be true? Honestly, I'm not 100% sold on this whole going back in time leak. I mean, I think it's definitely, it's plausible, given all the setup, even in-game and in things we know, and the fact the expansion is called Warlords of Draenor. Draenor, not Outland. So it's definitely referencing the planet as it was before it was destroyed, meaning there's probably going to be time travel in some point. Now, I do think that Aurelia and Terulion will appear back and lead us into some sort of anti-demon adventure, hopefully knocking heads with Kil'jaeden or something like that. I think it would be interesting to have a mixture of kind of old Draenor orcs and then new Outland, perhaps some new continent in Outland or something like that, and the Burning Legion. I don't know. I think they can do a lot of stuff with this expansion. So yeah, that's really it for this video. I just wanted to put that whole theory into words and stick it out there in one more cohesive video, rather than just sort of messing it up. And hey, it's interesting. Do I think this is going to happen exactly how I said? No, I think perhaps there's probably elements of this that are correct, because this is based off fact in-game. But of course we can't know. I'm not magic, as much as I wish I was. That would be fun. But yeah, let me know what you think, and more importantly, if you have any ideas yourself, be sure to leave them in the comments. Maybe if I see some good ones, I'll feature them and do a video on them if I think I can really sort of get a good story out of it. At the end of the day, speculation, while it may all be wrong, it's damn good fun in the process. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to leave a like, I'd really appreciate it, because it does help me out a ton. And with that, I'll see you next time.